Welcome, everybody. Okay, let's all chant together with the mayor of Chicago. Whoops.
This land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers. Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution, it's going to be the labor movement that stitches it back together. The labor movement that brings black folks, white folks, Asians. It brings brown folks together. This is the city that said, keep hope alive. The city that birthed, yes, we can. And the city that will defend this country. God bless you all. God bless the labor movement. God bless the greatest freaking city in the world, Chi-Town. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. Invest in Chicago. Invest in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. Invest in Chicago.
Okay, folks, there you go. That's what you got. You got Brandon Johnson there. Okay, let me try and get this back up here. That was Brandon Johnson, Labor Day, of course, speaking to his people. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. But, of course, we know what's going to happen here. Guess what? There's going to be troops in Chicago. So here's what President Trump's response was to that. Here we go.
Have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzer get up and say we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now.
All right. And he continued on. Here's more. Wait a minute here. Let me get this back to where I'm going. All right. Well, he continued on with his presentation, essentially saying, yeah, we're going into Chicago and it's going to be soon. And I got word, I don't know if it's true, but that there would be enhanced federal agencies here come this Friday. Now, here were the actual stats. This is from heyjackass.com. As you can see, total August shot and killed 39, shot and wounded 2008, total shot 247, total homicides 43. Year to date, shot and killed 245, total shot 1,366. And of course, that's just for August. It doesn't include the whole Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend, there were 9 killed and 51 wounded. Now, I believe a couple of those killed were not necessarily shot. I think one of them might have drowned. But you get the picture here. It's mayhem. You had 60 families, 9 killed, 51 wounded. You had 60 families directly affected by violence in Chicago. And I'm not going to say gun violence because people then think it's the fault of the gun. No, violence by violent actors. That's what happened in Chicago. And Trump's having none of it, and he's going to go in and do something about it. And so, Brandon Johnson can chant all he wants. J.B. Pritzker can lie to the people saying this is the militarization of the streets. It's not true at all. He can pretend that this is going to affect voting. It doesn't at all. And by the way, I mean, how dare he actually lie to people and say, oh, people are going to be frightened to vote. Well, first of all, there's not another election, at least until spring. Do you really think the National Guard is going to be there until then? And do you really think it's going to matter? And any legal citizen shouldn't be afraid to vote. They wouldn't be. Only in JB's imagination, so he can scare people, would somebody say this like that. The guy's not a leader. He's an absolute idiot. WBEZ had the rundown on the 9 killed, and they said 52 wounded. So that ups 9 killed, 52 wounded. So we're at 61. But you had, let's see, Efrain Sanchez, 48. He died. 18-year-old Morgan Alinas, 26-year-old woman was shot. Don't know her name. 46-year-old man was shot. Was killed. Yep. 43-year-old Nichelle Blunt was shot when she was approached by 5 assailants in Riverdale. Jack Haynes, age 29, was killed in a shooting that wounded another man Saturday morning in Humboldt Park. Let's see. Cedric Hicks, age 33, was shot to death during an argument in an Englewood home. 63-year-old Nabil Abzal was pulled from the water at DeSable Harbor. His drowning death was ruled a homicide. So that was the homicide by drowning. And then you had a 25-year-old woman fatally shot in the South Shore apartment. So you've got a variety of things going on here. You've got death in people's homes. You've got death on the streets. It's endemic and it's everywhere. It's literally happening everywhere. Well, the Illinois Freedom Caucus had a little bit of a press conference today, and I wanted to play you a couple clips from that. So this first is State Senator Andrew Chesney. He represents the northwest part of the state, and he had this to say about the violence. Take a listen.
Robberies and assaults are out of control. Families are living in fear, and businesses are closing their doors and fleeing downtown. Now compare that to Washington, D.C. After the National Guard was deployed, crime went down, homicides dropped, carjackings fell by nearly half. And the message is clear. When leadership gets serious about crime and backs up law enforcement, criminals think twice.
Okay, so that was Andrew Chesney discussing the situation, and that's exactly right. That's exactly what would happen. Obviously, the National Guard is not going to do any sort of arrest whatsoever. That will be left to the police. They will be there to assist and provide I forgot what the technical term is, but they just provide a visual presence of law enforcement on the streets so that you prevent crime. So that will largely happen probably on public transit and definitely in other parts of the area. That would free up police to go to the more dangerous parts of the city so that they can actually fulfill their mission, which is to take criminals off the street. And they can spend a lot of time arresting perpetrators and getting to the causes, getting to the people who they know. In many cases, they know who is perpetrating the crimes. They just need more eyes on those areas. So when something were to happen, they can make the arrest right then and there. Because, of course, when they got rid of ShotSpotter, you're losing out on a lot of time for police to respond to a shooting and then discover who was doing that shooting. So that was Colin Mosley. Now, they were joined by 2 members of Chicago Flips Red. I think we're going to hear from Danielle Carter in this clip. Here's what she said in response to a question. We were actually present on the press conference as well. So we came in as AM 560 to ask a question, and Daniela Carter answered it. Take a listen.
A lot of media regarding the troops on the ground in D.C. working with law enforcement. Do you feel that it'll be an issue in Chicago as far as dealing with the troops versus the benefits, a fear of being a victim of crime. What do you feel as residents of Chicago? What's more fearful, having support from the federal government or being victimized by crime?
Oh, definitely victimized by crime. We're in a war zone. So having more police on our streets, that will be a deterrence from the crime. If you have a National Guard right there, standing right there, you're not just going to pull out a gun and shoot. You're not just going to carjack someone with the National Guard standing right there. So I trust having more police officers or National Guard officers in our community, way more than I trust the ones who have the guns right now, unlawful guns, that's shooting up crowds and doing massive shooting. So yes, I definitely trust President Trump. I trust what he sees, what he thinks is best, because we see what he did in Washington, D.C.
Okay, so there you go. She's not afraid to have the National Guard come in. In fact, she thinks they'd be a huge deterrent to the crimes that's being perpetrated now. Now this afternoon, I got invited to go to a pastors conference. It had Black and Hispanic pastors, and they were from some of the most troubled areas of the city of Chicago. And the question was put to them, how do you feel about the National Guard going in? In fact, the entire luncheon was centered around whether or not the National Guard should come in. And I actually got to speak a little bit. And my comment was, first of all, he's spending well over $100 million on violence prevention programs. And guess what? The streets are not safe. So none of that money has helped. The youth employment programs have not really helped. I mean, you can't point to almost all the money that we've spent through NGOs to help. What we need is really strong policing. And then we also need judges to keep these criminals behind bars. And we need the community to feel safe enough to come forward and give police tips so that we can arrest the right folks. And so it was interesting what the pastor said, because one particular pastor, she was on a West Side pastor. She said people are getting robbed every week. And she spoke of a young man in particularly who was busy working, and he got accosted by some thugs on the street. They took his rent money and they shot him dead. That was her story. That's somebody she knows on her street. She says this happens all the time. She says that we need the National Guard. I had another person say that he would like the National Guard to come in, but he would like to know exactly what their assignment would be. Okay, that's fair enough. And she said a week ago, a woman with 9 children got killed, and a 13-year-old tried to hang herself, and she's barely hanging on to life. So he said, we got to come together and we got to work for the Lord. And then another pastor said that you can scripturally support the National Guard coming in. He quoted Romans 13. Rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. So that gave them the Christian perspective that it's okay to invite these National Guard in to the community. Another one. No one's going to do something in front of the National Guard if they're there. And we need to fix what's happening in the house. We need to stand up and be men. He spoke about one guy who was basically gunned down on Madison Street right in his neighborhood. So they all have personal stories where they have seen extreme violence happen right in their backyard. This one from the Roseland area, this pastor, he argued for strong marriages produces strong families produces strong communities. And he encouraged people to fast and pray and that we need God. And he was still all for bringing in the National Guard as well. So prayer and action. Okay. Another pastor said his daughter was a teacher, and she said that the schools are a mess. His daughter says the schools are a mess. The system wants to raise your kids. And so we need to take action ourselves and raise them. This pastor from Little Village said that he has a lot in the community that are Latino and documented, and he knows that laws were broken when they came through. He understands that. And he said that there is a real fear in his community about ICE coming in. Then he was assured that the National Guard will not conduct the ICE raids, and the ICE raids can come in regardless. This is about crime and safety. It's less about ICE raids, let's face it, because Trump could bring in ICE, ATF, DEA at any time, and he's going to beef them up anyway. So the National Guard there again is to free up the police so they can make more of the on the street arrests in the more dangerous neighborhoods that need to happen. Anyway, it went on and on. This particular guy, yeah, he told a story though about turning around a gang member. Well, good for him. So there's our stories out there. There's hopeful stories out there. If you can get to the folks and turn their lives around, I'm all for that. But in the meantime, the violence has to stop, and that's one thing that they were all agreed on. By the end of the luncheon, nearly everybody. I didn't hear anybody say that, no, I really don't think the National Guard should come in. They were all in favor. And I was only talking with Black and Hispanic pastors. So there you go, Brandon. Guess what? The troops are coming in, and they're coming into your city. And I think what's going to happen here is you and Pritzer are going to be embarrassed because you're going to see a drop in crime. It's just going to happen. And you sat here for year after year, Pritzer for 6 years, you now for over 2 years, and you did nothing to arrest the level of crime that we currently have. So time for others to take charge, and because you guys are not in charge, the criminals are in charge, and we'll see if we can get this fixed. So I just want to come in with that quick Facebook Live, and I think we're on X as well. And thank you for joining me. That's all the news for today.